to Jen DiGiacomo's picture-heavy question. And does anyone have a signed version of Cerebus Aardvark Berserk poster? The flavor text is from Cerebus Archive number 1. I have the black and white print from the aforementioned Cerebus Archive. That was when we were doing prints of rare artwork. A color version I have from a few years back, and a signed color version, number 18 out of 500, that I acquired last year. I'm trying to verify the signature from the early days of Cerebus, and ideally would like to compare it to anyone's signed copy. And I guess this, you said the discussion on the Facebook group got hot and heavy, and then you pulled out some highlights on that. And answering the question as best I can, this was the first time that I had done a poster, and certainly the first time that I ever even contemplated signing my name 500 times to something. And I don't have a lot of specific recollections about the poster, but I think there's some very sensible conclusions that I can come to that this was definitely a rookie mistake. The second issue of your comic book that you sold 2,000 copies of, there aren't 2,000 Cerebus fans. It's Jim Friel and Harry Kremer and Bill Suling are all trying to find Cerebus fans with the comic books that you sent them, but they don't already exist, and certainly not to the tune of 500 posters or whatever. I forgot to check and see what I was charging for those at the time. But Harry would have gotten the earliest ones here in town. Poor long-suffering Harry. I can just picture him when, I came in and went, Harry, I've done Aardvark Berserk poster. How many of them do you want? And it's like, can I say none? Or can I say just one for me? Posters are a completely different thing from a comic book, which is another thing that I didn't know at the time. Downstairs where I worked at Now and Then Books, they had one of those poster things. Are you old enough to remember posters being sold in head shops where you would be able to sort through them because it was like a V-shaped thing with the posters backed by cardboard and with a plastic wrapping around them? And is this ringing a bell at all?
Are you talking about the ones where it's the posters are all in like frames that you can swivel and go and page through like a giant book? Or are you thinking of...
Oh, okay. See, no, that's later. But that's the same thing. That's where this came from. Yeah.
So you're saying the posters shrink wrapped on cardboard, and it's in a display box basically, and you page through it like back issues of a comic?
Right. Except that it's not shrink wrapped. It's just oversized plastic that got really cloudy and fingerprints all over it, and everybody fell for the same thing. Somebody obviously sold it to Harry, who couldn't sell them either. It's like, here, you're going to have all of these great posters. You go through, and it's like there's doors, and there's who's the guy that did the Yes posters? Roger Dean. Roger Dean, and Mick Jagger, and the Rolling Stones, and just imagine you're gonna get rich because everybody's gonna already come in to buy records at your record store, and they'll be able to buy posters too. And it's like, in the entire length of time that I worked downstairs, nobody even looked at the posters, let alone bought the posters.
And now they go for thousands of dollars.
I suppose they do. Probably not in the condition they were in by the time they had been thumbed through by everybody. But Harry gave it the old college try and put this 11 by 17 Aardvark Berserk poster in with his posters. And it's like, I could even see by that point, okay, it's not going to sell. But at the same time, it's like, well, I got 500 of them. Live and learn. So getting back to Jen's question, 18 out of 500, that's very early in the process. I'm pretty sure that I didn't sign all of them, like as soon as I got them, which is what I do now. If I said I'm going to sign something and they come in from Studio Comics Press, sit down, put your head down, sign them all. Okay, now you never have to do it again. Don't do that. Well, I'll sign a bunch of them now and a bunch of them later, because you won't. Which is, I think, what happened with these. I never actually signed 500 of them. Looking ahead, what's the latest number that we got is 420. I'm surprised that I got to that point. Really surprised. I must have decided, okay, yeah, just sit down and do them, because you can't sell them unsigned, and they're not really selling anyway. But whatever it is you're going to do with them, you're gonna need them signed. So you can see the one that Jen has, number 18, is. I would have to see it a little closer, but it looks like I'm actually doing that either with a drawing pen, like the Hunt 102 pen nib on there, or one of the rapidograph pens that I did lettering with. And I'm being really, really careful about it. It's one of those, if you haven't done it before, and then you get the prints in and go, okay, time to sign them. It's like, oh, I should have left myself a lot more space than this. A lot of it being that I was trying to do a Barry Windsor Smith print with the BWS style border, and I had a BWS print, so I knew, well, okay, this is how much space you leave around the outside for the signature. Except, again, that not having done this before, it's like, well, mine goes all the way back to Barry Smith. It doesn't say Barry Windsor Smith, it says Barry Smith. And it's horizontal. He has a horizontal signature. And as you can see, I don't have a horizontal signature. I have two vertical signatures. So as far as I know, this was the first and only time that I basically took my Dave Sim signature, where the Dave goes on top of the Sim, and went, well, I'll just have to put it next to the Sim instead of on top of the Sim, which I was really not happy about, and didn't really know how to do that, which I think accounts for, was it Sean that was saying that the D doesn't look right?
Yeah.
It's the D didn't look right, because I was going, well, if it's not on top of the Sim, how am I going to do it so that it looks like a drawn signature instead of just writing out the letters DAVESIN? And it's like, well, maybe I could do this with the D, and it's like, yeah, that looks okay, but am I going to do that every time up? And it's like, well, I'm at least going to do it as far as number 18. It would be interesting to find out if people have numbers closer together than that, so that I can see where I finally went, oh, hell, forget it. which it looks like the Dion Turner's number 170 out of 500. By the time I was signing my name for the 170th time, and I would imagine by that point, not only was I not getting, Harry Kremer going, ooh, can I have all of them? Can I have all 500? Jim Friel didn't want them, and Phil Silling didn't want them. Probably bought a few just to be polite, but not enough for Dave Sim to be writing home about these. Happy days are here again. So 170 out of 500. I'm not sure if I didn't do all of them or a bunch of them and give them to Harry, or gave them to somebody else and said, "Here, they're just clogging up the studio, and every time I trip over them, a bunch more of them have bent corners, and I know how that goes." That was the other thing. It wasn't even on particularly good cardstock. I just printed it on the same paper that the Cerebus covers were printed on, because I knew how much that cost. So, okay, here's how much it'll cost to do 500 posters. So you can see by the number 170, it looks like I've switched to just an ordinary ballpoint. It's like I'm not going to work at doing either a Hunt 102, which requires dipping and then testing it before you actually do the signature, or the rapidograph, where you have to test it so that you make sure that it's not going to have an air bubble in it just when I'm trying to write my name, and then I have to go back and write my name over where the air bubble was. With a ballpoint pen, it's just straight ahead kind of stuff, which is what we've got with the 170. By the time we're up to 420, when they're asking about, did Denny sign these? No, Denny didn't sign any of them. I definitely, looking at them, yes, they're all my signature, but it's just, I was still at the time of, want to make all of the signatures look as good as I possibly can. Not knowing what that's like when you're getting up around 420. And it's like, oh, hell, I don't care what it looks like. Just Dave Sim, Dave Sim, Dave Sim, Dave Sim. Try and remember which number was the last number that I wrote. One of the ones that Margaret has, did I sign that upside down?
That's the way it looks in the photo.
Doesn't it, though? And it's like, what is that all about? That's like 271. It's
maybe you were doing them 10 at a time and one poster was upside down and you just went, well, you're getting an upside down signature.
Hey, that's a good theory. I'll go for that one. I wonder if she had to pay as much for it because it's the rare upside down signature. But yeah, that was. I must have decided it's faster signing them, writing my signature, than it is printing Dave Sim all as individual letters. And I just want these done now, and I will get them done. And as I say, give them to Harry, or give them to Harry and somebody else, and it's a solved problem for me. I never have to worry about this damn poster again. Which of course ended up in exactly the situation that you would expect, where I sure wish I had one of those posters for the Cerebus archive, the 3 of them. And I did have some very generous people who did volunteer to send me theirs. And very pleased to have them in the Cerebus archive, but it is still the world's ugliest poster. Barry Windsor Smith definitely makes those Gaelic borders look a lot easier than they are to do, especially for an amateur who's going, well, why is it over this far? Well, because you're just trying to draw it freehand and then ink it instead of using tracing paper and making sure everything is meticulously spaced so it always ends up where it's supposed to go. You'll notice that I never did another one of them. I got Gerhard to do a couple of them, I think, and then he went, I'm never doing another one of those again. There's only one BWS who never gave up on that, and obviously went, no, it looks really good, so I'll just have to bear down and figure out how to do this. And he could figure it out. Everybody else just goes, well, I'll just look at you doing it. You know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. The last one, to Cliff, thanks Dave Sim. I would suspect that one was from the convention where we debuted them, where I thought we are definitely off to the stratosphere here. Not only do we have issue number 1 and issue number 2, we've got this Aardvark Berserk poster, which everybody is going to be absolutely dying to have. And it definitely has the look of being signed at a convention. And because I was signing books at the time, just went, oh, right, this is a problem, but I'll just have to fake it as best I can and try and squeeze the Dave Sim signature into the completely limited amount of space when I'm not really thinking in that frame of mind. Whatever I just signed had plenty of room on it, and now I'm trying to figure out how to get this into 3/8 of an inch worth of space kind of thing.
I do enjoy the arrogance of youth, because in 2005, when I went to space the first year as an exhibitor, I went, I'll do a poster. And I drew an 11 by 17 image and went, I'll make 250 copies of this. And then I did a second one and made 250 copies. And I think I came home with 500 copies.
How about that?
And
isn't that weird how that works?
And they sat in the closet of my room in the apartment that Paul and I had for about 2 years, and finally it's, hey, we're going to space, are you going to take those posters? No, we're going to recycle these.
Yes, we are all done. We have learned our lesson, because it really is like an albatross around your neck from then on. You always know that they're there. You always know that you'll never be able to sell them for anything. Although, obviously, that's not the case anymore with the Cerebus Berserk poster. I would hate to find out what people are paying for them now. Did anybody tell you?
Nobody said anything, but I will ask now, and I will come back. We'll come back with this is what, you know. As I lovingly referred to Jeff when Seiler would post that he had gotten this or that, would be some Yenta with more money than brains.
Yes, it's one of those. It is a rare item. I mean, there's not a lot of Cerebus stuff between issue 1 and 2. There's the Aardvark Berserk poster, and there's the flyer that I took to the convention that had Frank Thorne's Red Sonja and Cerebus drawing that he did, that I ran in issue 2 on one side, and another BWS knockoff on the other side, which I keep thinking. I found, I was always looking for something else, and I found the Art Nouveau book that had the statue from that picture that I copied really, really badly. So it was one of those, oh, hey, that's where I got it. Flipping through this Art Nouveau book, looking for a specific Art Nouveau image. I can't remember what it was that I was looking for, but it's like, well, that's not what I was looking for, but that would make a good blast from the past for a moment of Cerebus at some point. But yeah, it's an albatross around your neck. Never did it again. When we did the full-size prints for the Cerebus Archive Portfolio's bonus prints, it's like, okay, how many have we got orders for? That's how many we're going to print. And we're not going to print them until we've got all of the orders in, because Grandpa really doesn't like tripping over posters. It takes him back to a much stupider and much younger Grandpa. Next is Kevin Parr, who asks, "Hi, Matt," with a question mark. Saw your blog. Long-time Cerebus reader. Ordered